3 days to get around. And it's
Okay, we are
gonna
open
go
live.
right
Good
back.
news, nonstop.
And recording.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. At, whatever it is, 6:01 maybe?
Yep.
Like start with pledge allegiance.
To the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So like all meetings will be recorded and transcribed. The Buck Creek Township Advisory Board. That's done. We have approval of May's minutes. I didn't see any issues with them. Did you see any?
I didn't have any.
No.
I didn't see any. I'll make a motion there. We approve them as submitted.
You have to second
Seconded.
it. There's only two.
There's only two, yeah.
All
There's
in
nobody to
favor,
play off.
all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. We're moving right along here. Any old business? I know Jennifer wanted to know about perf, but I don't know. That's, you know, sent back.
No, we're still, as
Still.
it stands right now, we're waiting to hear back from them. There's an open ticket that I'm waiting on them to come back. We'll reach back out to them later this week, but.
We'll just table that till the next meeting. How's that sound?
And I'll send if there's an update in between now and then, I can send an email out just to get you up to speed, but.
Okay.
there's
She
nothing.
specifically was asking me about that 2012, which we had referred to. And Perf had sent everything historically that they had. And that was in your board packet. That's all we have. So I don't know. And that was like when the department joined Perf and when they decided on the 6%, all of that. So that's all we have.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
2026 budgets, because that sounds like that's you, Abigail.
Yes, and I love my job. I tell myself this. I am going to be a bearer of some bad news. Okay. The 2025 legislative session was not local government's friend. So property taxes, we will get a 4% levy increase in our revenue for next year. As the current statute stands, starting July 1st, when it's implemented, after 2026, there will be no levy increases for anybody. So we will have to make do with what we have. Also in the line of that is House Bill 1461, which requires all townships now to submit a capital improvement plan no later than September 30th of every year. Among that also, the dates are iffy, but it's effective July 1st, 2025. So we believe that the end of year cash balance, what's unrestricted of that, which here's the formula. You take your December 31st cash balance, you add in your projected revenues, you take out your next year's budget, and you deduct any encumbrances, purchase orders, or other obligations. And you also subtract your capital improvement plan purchases for that year. 30% of what's left from that from your general fund, your recreation fund, and your rainy day fund must be transferred to a city, town, or county within the township's boundaries for road and infrastructure improvement, subject to the township's approval. By the end of the year, the township shall establish a road and infrastructure improvement fund, and you shall sign a resolution and a memorandum of understanding or MOU with a city, town, or county in the boundaries to provide the funds for. That being said, with the 2026 budget, we can increase it. There are ways to provide as much or as little funding to an outside entity as you would like.
All right, so let me ask a question. We have lots of county roads. We have some development roads. You live on one of those, obviously. Who is currently paying for those improvements when they're improved?
If it's a TIF district, the TIF is, if it's, it depends on if it's incorporated or unincorporated. If it's not within a city or town's boundaries, the county is paying for it. If it's within a city or town's boundaries, they pay for it.
So for Buck Creek Township, the TIF funds those improvements.
But are all the developments in a TIF?
The majority of your township is a TIF,
Yeah.
so I would say yes.
Biggest majority of us is TIF, so.
From the business side, in the areas that aren't TIFed, I mean, you've got the corporation on the southwest and then north. And so if you look that map, your southeast, all of that is done by the county, it's not being done by TIF or incorporation.
Okay. So we don't have road developments to worry about.
We don't pay for them. The RDC pays for them. Our tax
Okay.
the tax that's collected inside of a TIF goes to the RDC. They're paying for,
The road-
they're allocating the money that they've collected back to the township for the improvements inside the TIF district, correct?
Yes, so
Okay.
basically they want to make the roads and the streets nice and pretty for developers.
That's not the case in many of the other townships,
Okay,
which is
so-
why this has kind of come about.
Yes.
All right,
We already give $2 million of our budget to the county for the RDC to distribute for those things already.
Already.
Now they're asking for another 30% of cash balances.
of remaining cash balances at the end
For
of the year.
unrestricted funds.
Yeah.
So your fire, your cumulative fire, your assistance fund, your debt service fund are safe. They cannot touch that because they are statutorily restricted in their use.
Okay,
So your general fund, your rainy day fund, and your recreation fund.
The capital improvement fund.
Yes, but though the capital improvement fund has already been obligated with the purchase of the ladder and the engine.
That's the bond. That's
okay.
not touchable.
So if, and I realize you may not know this number in your head, but you must have an
Mhm.
approximate idea how it's gonna affect our township. What do you think we're gonna hand back to them?
First year, you're looking at roughly $500,000
Okay,
Unless we try to figure out something else.
unless you increase your budget or have enough capital improvement projects for the next year to reduce it by about
Sure.
1.4
I'm
million.
sure the buildings need something.
we have a floor that we talked about,
We've got, I mean,
and I'm sure you've got some projects.
from a purchase and infrastructure, I mean, part of what we've been building out with our capital improvement has been, equipment has been building. We're dealing with mountain system down at Twos, we've got sump pumps down at Twos, we've got roof here, we've got parking out here. I mean,
Generators,
there's a lot of,
HVACs.
there are a lot of things that we were trying to start building out as a capital plan over the course of a 5 to 10 year plan,
Right.
including equipment replacement, including, starting to try and build out something that we could work on going forward. The caveat is, and I think the short of what Abby's saying is that we have two choices, and that is that we can spend cash down, or we're going to have to move that cash into a fund and having to transfer that to the county or Cumberland or McCordsville, whoever the MOU is established with,
Yeah.
to dictate how those funds are going to be spent.
It also includes cemetery work, so you can budget for extra cemetery work that needs done that's just been procrastinated and pushed off.
So basically, what they've done to the businesses, you either spend your money or you pay
Lose it.
taxes on it.
It's,
So
Yes.
it's
you
been,
might as well
it is,
spend it to them.
there has been a built-in disincentive to build your budgets responsibly
Yeah,
and
to squirrel
save
money
and
away.
make it
Well, and-
work.
The one point I do want to make is it's budget, not necessarily spent. So they will look at your budget for next year, your 2026 budget.
Mhm.
So if it's much higher than your 25 budget, that's less cash that is obligated by your budget. So you may see a pretty significant increase in the 2026 budget.
We have to make it look good on paper.
Unless you want to give money to the city, town, or county.
No.
That's a very quick answer from everyone. No, thanks. Appreciate the offer, but
I think they get enough doing it themselves, they can figure it out.
well, the problem, we either have county or we've got McCordsville or Cumberland. McCordsville and Cumberland don't do anything inside the township. So our obvious choice would be the county. Well, like I said, we're already,
You still have to
Contributing.
sign the MOU then with the county.
Yeah.
But the MOU will be worded in such a way that no money is promised. It's just as available.
Gotcha, but don't plan out, guys.
Yeah.
Not like what they do us, right? There's really no money promised, but we could maybe.
Yes.
I mean, you're not wrong from the RDC side of things.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of what they do with us.
And we are working on some additional projects that the RDC was going to help us on, the parking lot being a big one here. So I mean, there's conversations are happening, but your example now.
The other downside is a secondary portion of Senate Bill 1, which completely redoes the local income tax formula. Currently, it's based on historical data of property tax levies for all funds, excluding debt funds, and prior year local income tax distribution. So it's an ongoing formula. It is reset beginning in 27, so distribution should be received in 28. It is all subject to the various county council. They can elect to establish an income tax rate, or they can elect to not establish one. The maximum allowed for all townships in the county to split is 0.05%. And that's for general operations only. And it is distributed on a per capita pro rata basis, which means, so prior lit was you were getting both township, general, and fire levies included in your calculation. This is for general operations only. You're going from about 2 million, 2.2 million to 200,000 beginning in 2028. For fire, the only thing that is not even really guaranteed, the county council can elect to do a 0.4% rate on fire and EMS services. But as the statute is written, that would only be distributed to fire protection territories and districts. Now, the county council can agree to allocate part of that 0.4% to township fire departments and or volunteer departments. It is not guaranteed, and that rate is distributed on you take your population served, multiply, add that plus or to the square miles multiplied by 20, and that's the share that each fire protection district or unit could receive. But once again, all of this is subject to county approval. County council could say no lit for anybody but us, and townships and fire protection districts and services are screwed.
So they're doing away with that one they have now, that local, I forget how they say that.
Well, there's multiple.
Local income tax,
Yeah.
lit.
There's multiple lits. There's public safety lit. There's local
one
income.
lit.
It's referred to. There's co-lit. There's low-it.
Catch
all
it,
of these.
seed it.
Yeah. So they're taking all of that out, and all of that goes away, and you just have lit. And that's the only category now that gets capped by the entities at 2.9%. And then that breakdown goes beyond that.
So county can get 1.2, up to 1.2. Municipalities can get up to 1.2. Non-municipal civil taxing units get a combined total of 0.2. And fire protection and EMS providers get 0.4. Now there is a missing 0.1 in there somewhere if you did the math in your head.
That's because you forgot something, or
No, the statute is not, the math is incorrect.
Oh,
Because
so can we get the whole statute thrown out?
there's talks that they just put something, they threw something against the wall to see what would stick, because they hated the current formula of lit and are hoping and expecting in the next 1 to 2 years that new legislation will be entered to fix it. But as it stands right now, that's where we're at. I told you I was a bearer of bad news the last couple weeks.
But as a whole, our township really stands pretty good, really,
You do
But-
for
but-
right now.
budgetary wise, right, for the next.
And when I've talked to the staff, I mean, one of the things that I've told them is that I feel comfortable with where we are for the next 3 years.
That's what I thought.
And I stand by that. I still feel comfortable based off of now. The having to give the county money, you know, again, we can balance that out with our capital projections so that we can obligate that money with capital projections, so that's not an issue. But I still feel good for the next 3 years of where we stand. If you ask me where year 4 I stand, and I've been very transparent with this staff, I really can't tell you because a legislative session can, I mean, as we've seen with this legislative session, really throw a screwball into a lot of different things. One of the items, you know, on the topic is talking about the fire territory and the conversations that we've been having with Greenfield. The short version is those conversations, we can't move forward in 2027 because of a rate cap that was put in for new fire territories being 0.4. And we were looking at 0.4, I'm sorry, yeah, it's 40 cents is what the cap is that was put in. We were looking at 49.5 cents. And so with that, we were looking at a reasonable budget. And so to try and trim it back 20%, it's not something that's going to be feasible. And so we've tabled the progress on trying to move forward with creating a new fire territory with Greenfield at this time. And it's not going to be feasible for 27. We'll have to see what the legislative session does next year to see if it's something that we can move forward with in 28.
So the legislative session this year was a baseball bat to the stomach.
Oh.
We
It's
were,
unbelievable.
we were budgeting responsibly, we were spending responsibly, we had, you know, good future plans in place, and they went, nope, try again.
That's where we're at the state level. I mean, all of a sudden, this big $6 million surplus is no longer around. Where'd that go?
I am feeling that one.
Yeah, I think I know it's just hid back, and in the end of 4 years, we're gonna have a huge surplus.
I guess the end of Abby's message is our budgeting is gonna look a little bit weird, and it's gonna look like we're not doing the right thing here, but in order to,
Maximize the dollar,
yes.
And to keep your taxpayer money here.
yeah, and not send it to Greenfield.
So obviously, with all of those nuances, just when I was getting the idea of how to budget, well, Brandon and I kind of had this down a little bit. Now we're going to be relying more because there's just weird nuances. You got to watch tax rates. You got to watch what funds those are going into. All of that. We're going to be relying more on Abby because of all the different things. So you know, we were a lot more confident in putting our stuff on paper. Now we really are going to need some assistance with that, and you know, our ability to move stuff around like we were before. It has to go through the Abby filter before we can do any of that stuff. So
Abby, are you working in other counties?
Yes, sir.
So what are you hearing from other townships and other counties?
It's my money. I want to keep it.
So the same kind of attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have
So there's a
issues that we have?
no. You all are very unique in that. There are some counties willing to
yay us.
play nice
Uh-huh.
and maybe give a small portion of their balance out. But those are the ones that they don't take their full levy every year, and they're sitting on quite a bit of cash. But most are, let's take the full levy increase in 26 allowed to us, and we're gonna budget and have a capital improvement plan to account for all of our funds. No one's liking the idea of having to give up their taxpayer money their tax rate to somebody else who,
Yeah, I hear some things over, and I think it's Hamilton County. It's like, you're gonna spend that much money for that discretionary item, especially when it comes to, sports activities, it's swimming pools.
We don't have one of them. Yeah.
Huh?
We don't have a swimming pool.
But not the county, but the school district does.
Maybe some of the township. We don't have a
Yeah.
township.
Yeah,
No,
we don't have one.
I mean, recreation, we don't have a whole lot.
I'm sure Jennifer is gonna have lots of questions.
she can feel free to email or call me.
I just know how she is with numbers and stuff, and she's gonna have lots of questions, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all for trying to figure out something, not give anything back. I don't.
Well, I can do that.
The good news, we did get some good news, and that is that DLG, Department of Local Government Finance, originally based on the way that Senate Bill 1 was written and being interpreted, there was going to be no, we were going to get the 4% growth levy for next year, but there were to be no assessed value appeals or extension of services appeals or anything along those lines. Mickey actually just got an email about an hour ago from the Department of Local Government Finance that says that you can still apply for those appeals for next year. But after that, that's it. You won't be able to apply for those again.
So we'll be applying for every last
those.
one of them.
We'll try
Everything
and
we
help
can,
do budget
we can
boosts
possibly
as
be
well.
looking for.
So from that perspective,
What we applied for this year went through, right?
we did. The assessed value appeal did, the extension of services did not. So we'll be applying for both again this year. But that was something that originally we were under the impression, well, everybody was under the impression that those were not going to be available for next year. And DLGF just clarified that, yes, they are available for next year. The other piece that's been interesting with this is that the Professional Firefighters Union of Indiana has put out numbers, and these numbers have come also from a couple other places showing the impact that you're going to see to different entities from county level to townships. In there in the county level, they indicated the TIFs as well, and it actually shows that you've got everybody taking negative hits. The TIF is going to actually show a positive, almost $12 million increase to the RDC revenues for some of the stuff that's happening. Not quite sure how that is coming about, but that means that we should have more funds that we can go back to the RDC in the county and start talking to them about getting as well. I don't know that they're going to be willing to commit operational funds like what they've done with the MOU we currently have, but it's conversations that we're going to have and see if we can't move along some of those projects as well.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
Trustee report.
So Trust Indiana, our investments are moving right along. As you remember, I moved $3.6 million into Trust Indiana Fund of a couple of different, from a couple of different places. We were having some of that is the bond money. I can move that money back in 24 hours if something comes available. We started the report period of May 1st was 3.609, 737.64. And the ending balance was 3.622,752 for an interest earned for May of $13,015.04, which is an average yield for the period of 4.2381%. So we're getting a really good return on that money. I keep, we've got a couple of, we just got like a supplemental lit of 261. It's not a lot of money, but if it can go in 4.2 for 30 days, then we'll do that.
But we're sitting on cash.
The supplemental lit was budgeted income. We had a budget at 251, so it came in a little bit higher than what was budgeted. So it's not
Yeah,
just extra money.
there. And so what I'm trying to do is earn the maximum that I can with the money while not affecting the operational dollars. Even if I would move too much, like I said, we can get that money back in 24 hours. So, I check this probably every other day, to see. I'm just so excited. We're earning money. This is great. I'm so excited.
And what are we paying for it?
We don't pay anything to invest it.
No, but what are we paying for the bond?
Well, it's front loaded. So we're at 6% for the first 5 years, and then like the last 5 years is 0. So it's front loaded the way that it was set up. However, that's as good as we can do.
In today's market, that's good
Yeah.
money.
It is good money. So, report on the fish cemetery workday. Last Saturday, we had, 17 people, at the TB Tiny Little Cemetery over on Buck Creek Road. We replaced about 2/3 of the fence. They cut down a bunch of limbs that were causing, Zach all kinds of problems. We cut back some bushes. The fence still has to be completed, of course. They uprighted a bunch of the tablets that had fallen down and were broken. They glued a couple back together. They cleaned up some of the ones that were. There's one that it's been down for a very, very long time. It's 6-8 feet tall, and one that they took out of the ground just to kind of reset it. It was 18 inches deep. The base was 18 inches deep. That is highly unusual.
Below this.
There was some above, but they dug. I mean, they dug, and we had a huge tripod with a
Placed,
yeah. It was quite a big deal. So 5 people from the family were there. 2 people traveled from Kansas to come. And it was an older couple, and they sat and watched, but that was their ancestors. And so you talk about they were so appreciative, and so the township paid for the supplies for the fence, and the cemetery commission did everything else. I was working on the fence stuff. My fence guys were running out of steam because it was hard work. We had post hole digger, we had an auger. But even holding on to the auger, it's a lot of work. So I ordered pizzas, and that's going to come out of the cemetery budget too. That was like $55 and fed everybody that was there. I figured that was the least I could do. We took water and cement, and I've got some dirt for one of the other cemeteries. Huge success. They're on the website. Jenny put together a video of little videos of everybody working and what they were working on. It's very well done. I've already shared that with all the cemetery commission members. I already shared that with all of the family members. Everybody's thrilled. So it was a win-win-win all the way around. We were awarded, so since before I had started, I was alerted to the potential. There was a payment that was made of the outgoing fire chief for comp time that he had earned over a long period of time.
Okay.
It was brought to my attention before I started running. I had been looking into that for a while. It was my opinion then, and still to this day, that shouldn't have been the amount of the payout. And so State Board of Accounts came in and did the whole special investigation thing. They also identified that they agreed that was not the amount that it should have been. And so I pursued insurance for it's actually under employee theft insurance, or the executive liability insurance, that the money had gone out without proper safeguards in place, at an amount that was different than what should have been. Anywho, insurance came back and said, yep, we agree, you're right. They're still looking at the other part of the special investigation, which involved the auxiliary account, and it was $100,000 and some odd on that piece. They're still looking into that. They're still gathering information. We shared excuse me, information from, that the State Board of Accounts had, collected, through the firefighters credit union and copies of checks, et cetera, et cetera. They had to subpoena all of that. The State Board of Accounts had to for the, investigation. So instead of reinventing the wheel, we shared that information. I had to get special permission through the State Board of Accounts to share that information, with the insurance company. They're combing through all of that stuff. They've got a forensic accountant, which I didn't even know was a thing, sifting through all that stuff and trying to figure out. However, we did receive a check, for the exact amount of the, payout, in question, and that was $79,557.79.
Good work.
Good.
Like I said, I kind of always felt that was, not the correct number, not the correct amount of time, whatever. And, so I feel like that for me, I'm very proud of the work that went into that, to get the taxpayer
Awesome.
money back into the taxpayer fund for that. So anyway, that is, it was received and deposited, already. And, we're still waiting on the other piece of that. I don't know how that stuff's gonna shake out. I've answered a gazillion questions. They have called State Board of Accounts to ask questions from them. So
Now, if they did that, does the insurance company go
Yeah,
after the family?
there's no subrogation at all.
Because there's nobody there. I mean,
Well, not only is there nobody there,
Other
State
than-
Board of Accounts decided not to pursue any charges, with regard to that, knowing that we could, probably, receive some of that money back from insurance. And so that was the best route at that time. So,
Good job.
yeah, I'm very, very happy about that. Like I said, it does not, I don't direct this toward you all. This does not have anything to do with who or where or why that payout was made. It had to do with the legal aspects of the longevity, the manner in which it was paid out. It was paid out before board approval. There were lots of things that were not in the right
That
order.
were in the gray area.
Correct. So it doesn't matter to me. I have nothing against Dave Sutherland. I never worked with the man. It has nothing against him. They're not going after him or his family or anything else for it. It's insurance that we pay for regularly anyway. So, again, I think that's a win-win, for all of us.
Good.
Okay.
Any questions?
Does that do go back to payroll?
It goes back into the, fire, and then we decided the fire payroll fund, yeah.
Yeah.
Cause that's where it was written out of. That's the end of my good news.
And that was paid out in the prior year, right?
Yes. It was paid out in 22, like June, early June 22.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chief?
Couple random things. From a staffing perspective, we're down one person. We've got, one I think I told you guys was leaving. We've got a replacement. Excuse me, already going through the FERC process. The FERC process changed, unfortunately. So it takes a little bit longer now. Zach has been working with getting individuals scheduled and getting them through that process so that we can get the position filled. The gentleman that's leaving leaves in a week. So we'll have that vacancy for a couple weeks and then we'll get the replacement in and running. The Walmart grant, so we did receive the money from Walmart. We had purchased the equipment. Happy to show you if you want to see what it is out in the bay. The amount of the Walmart grant covered one of the two pieces that we ordered. So it helps to offset that cost for equipment that we're going to use for our work performance evaluations, and crews can also use it for training and for working out as well. We signed with Lexipol. Lexipol is a policy procedure company. They are, I kind of talked to you guys about that we were looking at doing this. We went ahead and pulled the trigger on it. We are started, so myself, Chief McFall, and Chief Everett are all going through this process with them of, hey, here's the standard policies. They break them down from a federal, state, best practices, and local level of policies. So once this is all rolled out and we've got all of the staff onboarded with these policies, We'll be compliant from a federal level, we'll be compliant from a state level. It will give us kind of that black and white that a lot of staff had asked for from some of the meetings that we had had, so that they have a manual that gives them the policy side of things. And once we're done with the policies, we're going to move right to the procedure side of things and work on rolling out the procedure manuals as well. So that's all up and running. Well, that is all signed and moving forward. We had our second meeting with them and then did our homework today. We'll meet with them pretty much every Monday with new policies that we'll be going through. We'll work with the union. The one thing that is nice is in there, it does reference the contract. It says that if the contract supersedes anything, then the contract wins. So it's also trying to honor and recognize the union agreement as well as part of the policies and procedures for being written out. The fire territory update from that perspective, my intent was just kind of tell you guys that it's been tabled. 27 is at this point, unless there's a miracle that happens between now and the end of the year, which it's state legislation and law, so I don't see a miracle happening. 27 is off the table. We are still continuing conversations. We're still doing some other things. One of the nice things that has come out of this, we've seen, you know, our crews have been training more, they've been interacting more. So we've got a lot of positive things that have started rolling, and we're going to continue that rolling because I think this has been it's been good conversation to have. And we've gotten some good interoperability and interconnectivity between the departments. Even to the point today, the crews went over and we're doing quarterly live fire training over at the Greenfield cans they've got. So they're over there this week doing that. Last week, crews were doing a large area search up in Vernon Township, and all the three departments came together to work on that. So bringing forth good ideas, good training, good conversations. So that's been a good thing. The last thing, unless I come up with something random in my head, I'd like to get you guys to vote on surplusing. We have a skid. The skid was basically a poly tank that has a pump that's attached to it and a booster reel or hose. Previously, we had stuck this skid in the back of a 2500. Problem is that the 2500 is a extended cab long bed. And so by the time you try and kick it off road to become a 4-wheel drive grass vehicle, it functioned, but not functioned well. We've not used that skid in the past 4 years, 5 years. So about 5 years, it's just been sitting in the garage, taking up space. So I'm asking to get it surplus so that we can put it up for auction or sale and get it out of the garage so that we can.
What do you figure the value of it is?
I honestly don't know. If you took a look at trying to buy a new unit, I mean, they can run anywhere from 5,000 to 20,000. So it really, I can't even take it. What I'm going to do is we'll start going through and seeing if we can find some that are similar as far as the pump size and the tank size, and just see if we can't put it out for something that's similar. But the point is that our grass truck that we have now does very well. It is a standard cab. It is a shorter wheelbase, and I think the only time we got it stuck is when Adam didn't have it locked in 4-wheel drive. Other than that, I think it's okay. I don't think we've had it stuck, have we?
Bill got it stuck. We were at a landscaping place over here, and it was the middle of the night for a brush fire, and they had pulled out big trees. So I'm driving and pulled the tree out, and they didn't backfill.
Oh, so you got a big hole.
So you got, yeah, that's how you stuck.
Relatively
The single
relatively speaking, well, though, the truck we have is a good truck. So I don't see a reason to put in, and we have neighboring departments all have grass trucks as well if we need them. So I think it had filled its need in the past, but I think that we've grown beyond that need in use.
No matter what you get, it's gonna be worth more than what it is sitting in the building.
Absolutely. So I just need a motion from you guys and an approval to have
I
that
make a
surplus.
motion to surplus the grass unit.
Not the grass truck, the skid, the extra
grass
skid unit. Yeah.
Please don't take a truck.
Yeah.
Skid and pump, right?
Yep. Yeah.
I'll second it. All in favor of surplus and the skid and pump, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Ambulances. So I know the ambulance has been sitting there for a while. They've been surplus since before you guys came on as a board. We have them scheduled next, I think it's not next week, but the following. We're sending them up to an automotive shop to have them go through. Basically, the direction that I've given him is get them functional and running so that we can take them, get them up to an auction. when they're going down the auction line, they sound like they're running, instead of having to take them up there with a tow vehicle and not get anything out of them.
Yep.
Once those get through there, then the intent is there's an auction place in Markable, that Vernon Township, Sugar Creek, Greenfield have all used to sell fire apparatus and have had good success with it. We're gonna send one up there and see if we get a better process than what we did through the company we used through Interstate Towing. If it goes well, then we'll get the other one set up there as well. The 3 red, white ones are all scheduled to go up. The blue, white one, we had somebody, that was going to take a look at it. I'm gonna hold off and see if they're gonna be able to take a look at it. If not, we'll get it sent up there as well. But we'll have to tow it up because it's non-functional as it stands right now. So just so you kind of know where we're standing at from that. Other than that, odds and ends stuff, the county is going to do some patchwork on our concrete or our parking lot. Yep, they're concreting a spot over here and one out in front of the dumpster. And then we've been talking with Gary Poole about next year. He's working on getting us into the budget for the RDC to have the parking lot redone here because of just the age of the lot and the wear that we get on this.
The value that he put on those patches this year is about 30,000. The value on the whole parking lot is 100. So if we are slowly getting value back out of the RDC.
Okay.
Relatively speaking, I think that's all I've got, unless there's anything that you guys have for me.
And I mean, you guys did a great job. You guys have anything?
Nothing? You sat through the whole thing and you have no comment?
I have a question.
Okay.
It's an operational question.
Okay.
The other night, sometime last week, I saw the ambulance fire truck. Might have been you in the chief's car. I don't remember what number. You driving a light truck.
No, the white was probably battalion.
All right, so battalion chief. 3 sheriffs.
Was this on off of 700 West?
Yeah.
Were you chasing an iPhone?
No.
No.
I was there. I was in the white pickup truck.
My question is, do we need that massive response?
You can't do anything about the sheriff's.
What was the run type?
It was an unconscious person, naked, and we'll probably fight. I was down there for supper. I thought, okay, I'll go with you guys. And law enforcement was already started. We never know how many deputies we're gonna get.
Yeah.
They ended up sending 4.
Oh, I saw 3.
So, and he never woke up, but the chance is always there.
Okay.
So we build run responses based off of call type. And so what happens is when somebody calls 911 and they describe an incident, the call taker is going to ask questions, and based off of the answers that are given, they're then led down to a call type: unconscious person, overdose, cardiac arrest, house fire. And some of the times when you read notes, like the other day we got put on a structure fire. Well, it was a grill out back that was on fire, but it was on a wooden deck that was attached to a house. So instead of just doing a grill fire, they did it as a structure fire. So it created a different response.
Yeah.
And so based on what information dispatch is receiving and what path they're following, then dictates the apparatus that we send. And so typically on a medical call, we're going to send the district ambulance and district engine. Occasionally the battalions will attach themselves and they have that liberty to do so.
Okay.
Because they have the run notes that they can see. And so sometimes with that incident, if he's seeing that they're worried about the patient fighting, then by all means they'll dispatch onto that run or attach themselves to that run.
Yeah.
But relatively speaking, for a typical medical call, we're only sending 2 apparatus. For a typical car crash, we send 3. We send the engine, the medic, and the battalion. And then once you get into fire, that opens up a whole nother can of worms that I'm happy to offline. I can lay out how those are built out. But we've tried to build those, relatively speaking, with reasonable response for anticipated need. A prime example is previously when we would have a cardiac arrest in the township, we'd send everybody because we needed manpower to do CPR. Now that we have the Lucas machines, we send the engine, the medic, and the battalion, and then we let them decide if they need additional help when they get there. Same thing with lift assists or with larger patients. Sometimes you may have a cardiac arrest and you get there and it may be a larger patient, but we need additional people to be able to help transfer that patient onto the cot. So the crews will make those decisions on scene, but you got the straight answer for the run that you were asking about.
I'm just amazed. I mean,
Well, one, you can't, they can't have no control what the sheriff's department sends, you know?
Right.
And it may be there's 3 cars that's at dinner 2 miles away, all 3 are gonna go on that type of call, more than likely.
he's right.
Well, and you may have those
That
big
exact
calls.
scenario, right?
Yeah, and
So,
the same issue could also happen where you've got those 3 calls are on, you know, a
Yeah,
911,
lucky
a
a trooper
burglary
didn't
and a
show up
traffic
too,
stop.
so.
So, you know, then they're trying to break free of a Cumberland or McCordsville car to try and help, so.
Well, I was just amazed because I know how few sheriff's guys we have. And then to see everybody run there, I figured either something is there or why are we doing this? It was one of those questions.
I would say our run strings are probably 90%, 95% streamlined. We get one every now and then that we, like right now, we have 2 engines that are out of service mechanical, hoping to get one back up later this week. Our run strings are off because it keeps pulling engine 72 instead of pulling our ladder. So I'll work with dispatch and getting that straightened out so that it's not dropping the tones at both stations for those runs. But relatively speaking, I would say, and Dave, Zach, by all means, if you guys feel any different, I feel like we're about a 90-95% accuracy on where our run strings need to be for what we're responding to.
Okay.
iPhone crash detection is the only one that is just an annoyance.
You
People
guys
will
know
have
what
their
you
phone
need.
on their
Yeah.
car and then they go turn in the corner and the phone goes off. And
That was a topic I had today.
That's why you guys are professionals at it, so.
That's right.
I'm all.
And when one of those goes, you have no idea what it is, right?
What?
dispatch gets it.
iPhone,
The iPhone
iPhone,
crash detection? 90% of the time, there's nothing there.
If it's in a roundabout, chances are it's just a phone on the side of the road. If it's on the interstate, chances are it's actually something legit.
We've had calls too where folks got home, got out of their car and dropped their phone in the driveway.
Yeah.
And they go in the house not doing anything and we show up.
I'll do you a favor. I will turn my automatic crash detection on.
Hopefully that just happens at one time.
Yeah.
And you'll never let him live that down, right?
Yeah, well, that's why I was looking for the pen and I didn't bother you.
Any other comments, questions?
All good. I'll make a motion we adjourn at 6:50.
You'll have to
Second.
I second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Did Jen send this in just so I get to do that or not? She's something else.
Mickey,